Our first, second home market, and as your second income with Kari Brown, who, as Kathy mentioned, is the general manager and runs our Wine Country Group region as well as Tahoe Truckee. So happy to have her here. Can't really think of anyone with more information on how to help us with that. And then Leo, who's been in the business for 35 years, continuing to do a great book of business. He's probably forgotten more about real estate than I know. So we're going to have two great guests to share information with you. The first one is Kari Brown, and Kari's been with the company in a lot of different roles over time. She knows a lot about technology. She helped us launch our Tahoe Truckee region. She helped turn around when we had the Reno, Nevada region. So she's been with the company in many different capacities, a couple of different times over the years. So, Kari, we're so happy to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
So Kari's got a ton of energy. So for those of you that are sitting there sipping your coffee, you might as well set it down. You're about to have your hair pinned back and prepare to go about 1,000,000 miles a minute. So we hope you're ready for an exciting show. So let's start with just begin really macro. So buyers for Tahoe or for Wine Country, who are they? Where do they come from? How do you find them? Mm-hmm. How's the buyer in a luxury market or in a resort market or a second home market? How are they different than the normal buyer that you may pick up at an open house?
Well, yeah, let's start there. The buyer that is up in the resort areas of Tahoe or in the wine country, they're going to be motivated more by the lifestyle, the land, the skiing, the vineyards.
Right.
They don't have to buy. They don't care what the schools are like. A lot of times it's an emotional, impulsive purchase. Something just speaks to them. They decide to make that commitment to their lifelong dream. So, and I'm glad that we're having this show because they are impulsive. A lot of times they just immediately go to the first realtor they find. And
right.
I think, connecting them. We know that a good portion of the buyers come from the Bay Area, but we also have a lot of buyers from Texas, Florida, international. There's Chinese buyers. I've been seeing a lot in Tahoe. And the market itself was really booming in the 2000s, really driven by the baby boomers looking for their retirement homes. They were inheriting the money from the Bob Hope generation, so they had that extra money. But even though that's kind of petered out, they're still around, they're still buying, and we're actually seeing the average age of the second home buyer is more around 46 years of age, and it's getting younger. And so the generation after the baby boomers, they're also big savers. And so
not all of us. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
But some of us are.
They're big savers, and they're looking for a lot of times a legacy, something to leave in the family. They can own the home for decades, passing it around.
So that's interesting. Let's anchor in for just a moment, and I think we touch on it again later. But this concept of it's almost an impulse buy. Mm-hmm. It's aspirational component.
Absolutely.
Sort of status component,
mm-hmm.
but they may be up there for the weekend, and they wake up and they just say, "Honey, we should buy something up here."
Right.
Is that kind of how it goes?
Well, it's interesting. When you're at the branches in these areas, there's millions of people coming into the area. So first of all, the people that generally buy there have visited there before.
Right.
And unlike some of the other branches in the Bay, the people are really looking at the flyers and yeah, they may go skiing and have a great time, or just that to get that peace and solitude, mm-hmm. and then it kind of allows them to go back to their primary place of residence and deal with all the noise and population
right.
a little better.
So they find that the region, whether it's Wine Country or mm-hmm. Tahoe, is kind of a consistent destination point for them.
Right. Yeah, and the feeder markets are generally within, they say, a 3.5 mile radius. Whenever you're looking at any resort, whether you're in Utah.
3.5 hour.
3.5 hour. What did I say?
You said mile.
Oh.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. No
Not
problem.
If you go, yeah.
3.5 mile would be
right.
really small.
3.5 hour radius is where the biggest feeder markets
where
come
you could
from.
drive on a Friday and
exactly.
make it home on a Sunday. Yeah. Okay. How does an agent take advantage of that? I mean, and this is sort of what this whole thing is about, mm-hmm. but how does an agent prepare their, maybe their database, right? Or how, mm-hmm. how do I from a macro standpoint, how do I take advantage of that as a real estate professional?
Well, I would say because, like I said, these are impulsive purchases. A lot of times we see buyers coming up, going to an open house and dealing just with that agent who's holding the open house,
right,
or to the first agent that they meet at a barbecue or something.
Right.
And a lot of times you're their representative. And I always say if you're not calling your sphere, someone else is.
Yeah.
But this time I would say reach out to your sphere with a different message. If you can actively cultivate or understand whether this is perhaps a dream of your customer. And then the other piece is to connect with some of the agents. In fact, you'll meet one after me. But
shameless plug. Stay tuned for the back half of the radio show.
But so basically, I would say, get out to these resort areas. Not all agents are like you. You want to find one that's going to handle your customer in the same way that you do. So you really want to get out there and maybe meet one, connect with one, which brings me to the distinctive collection meeting that we're going to have, because I think this could be a great opportunity for you. The distinctive collection is obviously our luxury marketing materials that we're really emphasizing, especially in our resort areas. Our first networking meeting, which is basically going to be held at one of our luxury listings, it's going to be an opportunity for that listing to get incredible exposure. It will be a month-by-month event. Agents can come together from Tahoe, from Sonoma, from the Bay, meet, learn about our luxury materials, see the homes, learn about the areas. So those types of things, connect with the agent, but then definitely get in touch with your customer, because they probably don't know that you can help them in these markets.
Yeah. Okay. So you said a lot of times in these resort communities or in these second home communities that they end up just sort of meeting someone at a barbecue, or they walk into the open house and it seems to be somewhat random. Who ends up representing the buyers of these second home properties, and how does that process use? How's that different?
Well, number one is, like I said, because it's so impulsive, a lot of times they'll just talk to whoever happens to be standing at the house they want to buy,
right,
even if it's not their listing.
Very deep, thorough research
exactly.
process.
And, I have to say that sometimes you find agents coming from other markets like Sacramento and the Bay and trying to conduct a transaction in these markets. And here's where I'd say be careful, because, for example, Tahoe, they protect the lake. There's a lot of the TRPA, we call it, has a lot of ordinances. There's things specific to the area in terms of addendums and sewage and septic, and it's better for you if you were to actually refer it over to an agent who knows what they're doing and serve the customer in the highest way. And another thing, one of the agents in my office was telling me the other day too is, people want to know about the lifestyle, because again, these are lifestyle buyers. They are not buying the house; they're buying the lifestyle. Right. And they're going to have questions like, which is the best ski resort for children, or where, what's the difference between Healdsburg and Sonoma? Right. How are the lifestyles different? So that, I would say it's best to put them with an agent who really knows the area.
A great comment from Al in the Tahoe Truckee region.
Hi, Al Calhoun.
That's right.
Not to be confused with Jim Calhoun, whose brother.
That's correct. They're dominating both ends of the real estate spectrum. He said, put in your footer on your email that suggested areas for Bay Area agents, or suggested areas, or click here to learn more about Tahoe, click here to learn more about buying a second home in the wine country.
Excellent idea.
I think it's a great sort of passive way to reinforce, you are licensed for the entire state of California. That doesn't mean you should sell in the entire state of California, but you can certainly receive referral fees from the entire state of California, which we're going to touch on a little bit later. Yeah. So, question now, the next one. How can someone in the Bay Area make money, right? Like at the end of the day, this is a business. Right. So how do I'm an agent who's in the Bay Area, and I've got a pretty good business, but I'm always looking to add a revenue stream. I'm always looking to verticalize my business in other interesting ways. And I'll speak from my truth. As I've started spending more time in the wine country over the last 3 years with my role here, I really fallen in love with the area. So I could very easily talk about the wine country and very easily communicate with someone about how cool it is and how it could understand and resonate for someone wanting to have a second home there. So how do I take the passion that I have around that region the business that I have that's already robust, and I don't want to get distracted from how I make my living, but I'd love to add that second revenue stream.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the revenue stream. What does that look like? That might be all the motivation you need.
Sure.
Okay, let's look at some statistics. The wine country in Tahoe, I was just looking at the July numbers, they're very similar. The average list price is somewhere around 1.2 to 1.5.
Okay, that's all I need. I'm good. Thanks.
Well, the median sale price is 5 to 600,000. I just saw something from Gary Snedeker, our manager in the Sonoma branch. He writes a nice blog about the wine country.
He does, by the way, you know the name of that off the top? If you Google Gary Snedeker Wine Country, you'll find his blog. It's a great blog to follow. He has a lot of great information about the market.
Right.
So for those of you that want more information about it, a shameless plug for Gary's. You'll see a big spike in his Google Analytics.
He has a lot of agents, and I'm sure he'll share those agents with you.
Yeah.
But anyway, in his last blog, he mentioned that the average sale price for the entire wine country group was $855,000. Mm-hmm. So if you take that and you multiply it by its commission, and you get your 25% referral fee, that's like a $6,200 commission check just as a referral fee, without you having to do any part of the transaction other than connect the buyer with the agent in Tahoe or the wine country. So $6,000 a pop, that's pretty good, and I think that should be enough motivation to say, hey, and again, if you're not calling that sphere, there's someone from Tahoe calling them.
Right. Yeah, the analogy that I like to use is it's excite and refer. Right.
Which the referral aspect, if I can just touch on that
Please,
as well.
Of course.
You know, I'm not just talking about the Bay Area agents farming their sphere to find out who wants to buy a second home so that they can get into relationship with that vision and put them with a Tahoe or wine country agent in advance. I think that one of the biggest things that sell these areas is when somebody buys, like let's say you buy your great vineyard home, or you have your house in Truckee with, you got your skiing North Star. And your friends come up and you're so proud, and it's like, yes, this is my place. And then your friend's going to want to buy, right?
Keep up with the Joneses.
Exactly.
That's
and so
right.
so I can't stress enough how big of a referral relationship is needed here. So Tahoe wine country agents, you too, you need to be calling your owners, finding out which of their friends is most likely to make that purchase, and we need to be reaching in both directions.
Yeah. So as an agent, maybe and we'll start with in the Bay Area looking to get referrals into these second home markets. Let's get really tactical for just a second. How do I balance, I'll be an honest agent, okay? I'll be an honest agent for a few minutes. I do an okay job at marketing to my database locally, but I probably don't do quite as good a job as I should. And how do I balance the need to market for the business that I'm attracting down here? What would you recommend as a right way to feather in this new message, right? It's sort of like when Starbucks started serving food, right? They don't want to lose their market share around coffee because that's what they do and that's what they're best in the world at, but they would like to steal a little bit of market share from McDonald's, Burger King, and the other convenient food delivery companies, right? So using that analogy for my real estate business, I don't want to lose my core business. I don't want to lose sight of that. So what would you recommend as a right marketing vehicle? How many times is too many? What's the sweet spot for how to market to my sphere of influence for this referral vertical?
Well, I think Al brought up an excellent point, because I was doing an interchange on email with somebody that I was working with, and at the bottom was something, are you interested in going on some trip?
Right. Right.
And that as a sideline, I ended up going on that trip. So I totally think that's a great way to proceed, to just add something. Yeah, something it's not the most important thing you're selling, but it's a piece of everything you're selling. And here's again where I would say connecting up with the agent in that resort market, the feeder market agent, the one who's actually sending the business, can pick their brain, and together maybe they can share expenses on some sort of campaign. And really, I would say there's nothing wrong with just spending maybe one day a month or one day every few weeks calling specifically your sphere or reaching out to your farm and seeing what kind of interest is out there. but I would incorporate that idea that we have this extra product
right.
in any kind of communication that you have with clients, because you're going to forget to reach out to them later, but that email they'll read through and they'll see that little link and they can learn more about it from you. And
the passive, consistent reminder.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think too, anchoring into what you're really passionate about.
Exactly.
You know, if you do all the analytics and you discover that blank city has the highest average sales price, but every time you go to that area, that's not where you hang out, I'd say talk about where you hang out. Talk about the places that, you know, interest you. If you're big into wine, then you could give a winery update once a month of a cool winery that you went to, and then maybe give some real estate stats and make that part of your marketing plan for how you do it. And that, you know, I'm not saying to send recipe cards, but as you have more passion around something in a region, communicate that passion out to your database. And you become associated mentally with the person who understands the machinations and the movements of that local market.
And that's where I would say, again, this distinctive collection meeting that we're having at one of our Healdsburg listings on September 12th. I know I think it's the Chase group. We're going to bust the Tahoe agents down. They'll get to meet the wine country agents. And if some of you Bay Area agents want to come out and you know, network, this would be a great time to do
Poker
it.
tournaments coming up as well in Santa Rosa.
Exactly. Then.
So what percentage of buyers, and if you don't know exactly your best guess, your intuitive guess, what percentage of buyers for these second home markets like Tahoe and Wine Country, what percentage come from the Bay Area?
Great question. Somewhere in, whether it's the Wine Country or Tahoe, again, it's the same figures that show who's visiting, kind of it's the same in terms of who's buying. So somewhere around 56% of the buyers in both markets are coming from the Bay Area. But this is another important part about the Better Homes and Garden brand. The rest of those buyers are either coming from elsewhere in California or out of state or from another country. There's like a percentage, I think 5.4, that are coming. Oh, I'm sorry, 18% are actually coming from somewhere other than the United States. Okay. So when you may have a local brand that's in the Bay Area that's also in the wine country, that doesn't mean a whole lot to that 40 some odd % of buyers that don't know that brand. And that's where that Better Homes and Garden is going to have much more of an appeal, because we know people want to do business with names that they're familiar with.
Sure. So what makes a second home buyer different from a primary market buyer? You know, what makes it different when I'm buying a second home versus a home I'm going to
that's what I was saying earlier, that a lot of times the purchases can be tied to ideas of retirement. There's sometimes here I guess the Wine Country and Tahoe may be a little bit different, but obviously there's a big sports aspect to Tahoe, a lot of mountain biking and skiing, and but again, the purchase is driven by the actual lifestyle that they're going to live and not their needs, that they have to have that.
So because it's aspirational, do you find that a buyer is a little maybe a little more wishy-washy or a little less willing to execute?
Good point. Oh my goodness. This is so true. I think it takes an average, and I'm not sure what it is today, so resort agents, forgive me if I'm a little off, but somewhere around 13 months to 15 months sometimes it can take, once a buyer first starts looking at property until they actually close a transaction. So here again is where you're not going to want to spend that long drawn out process, because again, they're coming up maybe once a month.
Right.
So you definitely, you're going to need an agent who's going to be staying in touch with them, meeting them and showing them properties while they're up there.
So longer sales cycle.
Longer sales to close.
Right.
Like
from hello to escrow.
Exactly.
Is a lot longer.
Right. The courting process that we all love in the car driving around.
But they do have enough pull to make it all the way through. I mean, because in some ways you might think, well, if it's if it's somewhat spontaneous, they might be up there looking for the weekend. If they buy on that weekend, they'll buy, but then life being life, maybe they don't make it back up for a few months.
Right.
And then
but they do eventually, once their heart is sold to an area.
Right.
And that brings up another interesting thing, is that I've worked in all different kinds of markets. The resort market sometimes reflects the stock market. And so, and a lot of the buyers are cash buyers. So once they are ready to buy,
market's
a lot of times
up, they feel wealthy, market's down, they feel broke.
Or they're trying to put money somewhere that they're making, But the thing is, when it is time to go through escrow, there is no loan, and that's another interesting thing. I just saw recently that sales over 7 million are really hopping right now, but they're kind of slower around 5 million. So a lot of these price points are really unbelievable. We all know, which you'll hear from Leo next.
Yeah, good deal. So from the sales side, why is it difficult to sell a home in a vacation market? Or how is it different? Is it harder? Is it easier?
Well, like I said, the fact that it takes so long, the fact that, like what's going on. If they're buying this home because of lifestyle, they're going to have a lot of questions about the lifestyle. So it's going to take somebody who knows the best ski hill or knows like the difference between the east side of Sonoma and the west side of Sonoma, or all those types of things, the traffic patterns, the times when it's really slow.
Okay, so that real intimate knowledge of the market.
Yes, a real intimate knowledge of the market.
Okay, so how would you suggest that Bay Area agents cultivate these leads and really make it part of their business?
Like I said, just, add something to every form of communication that goes out. Make calls at least once a month, at least, possibly more. Connect up with an agent in one of these markets and get their ideas. Just like if any of you have ideas, please, from the resort areas, say something.
Firemen.
Right.
Yeah.
But just, actively farm it so that these customers aren't coming. I'm sure it's happened to you where somebody has said, oh yeah, I just bought something in Tahoe. Well, why didn't you ask me? I would have referred you.
Right. Yeah. Don't let that happen.
Yeah, don't let that happen.
So would you say that the first step is really sort of identifying a partner agent?
I think so.
In the market that you're interested in adding as a vertical to
Absolutely.
your real estate business?
If I have a sphere of clients that come back to me over and over because of our relationship, I don't want to just send them to somebody that I read about on a web page.
Right.
I would really want to know that partnering agent shares my ethics and philosophy and all the things that I think are important.
And style, right?
Exactly, and style. So it's something I think, if you are interested, first and foremost, plan a trip to the region,
right.
Meet with them.
Yet another benefit to working this market. You get to take fun trips.
Right.
Yeah.
And, come to the Distinctive Collection networking meetings or any other networking events that we have to meet them. But it's, it's a big part of our company is our wine country offices in Tahoe. So it's it's quite a few offices, and we make quite a spread, and we're really dominating, bit by bit, more and more of the market.
So that Distinctive Collections is September 12th.
September 12th, and information will go out soon, so you'll know more about that.
So stay tuned, but come to
The
it.
poker tournament is on the 20th.
20th, yes.
20th,
Yep,
which is
September
more
20th.
of the actual Distinctive Collection meeting is kind of a lunchtime thing. You'll come around 12:30, be done by 2:30. The poker event is a nighttime thing. It benefits the Children's Village.
Correct.
It's headed by wonderful Kathy Allerton. So that would be another great way to meet all the agents in the wine country because it will be in the Santa Rosa area, is it?
Yeah, it's in Santa Rosa.
Yeah, it's
proper.
in Santa Rosa, and again, I'm sure you all have information on that.
And we'll include a link to everyone that's on the show in case they'd want to attend. So first step, take a trip, experience the region. Second step, while you're up there, meet with an agent or two that's inside the company that you have some sort of resonance with, so that you could have the referring channel. Third step, think about different ways to passively and actively market it into your database so that you add that positioning piece of, maybe it's more general. Maybe it's I help people buy second homes, so that you can have a quick conversation, figure out where they want to go, and then refer.
And again, I don't want you to think that, okay, now I've got all these clients, I'm going to come up into these markets and start selling, because then you also have the MLS issues that won't allow participation on commissions if you're not a part of the MLS. There's all the ordinances. You can't even imagine how many there are. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I would definitely stay away. Yeah. Tell me a little more about the ordinances, some of the changes.
Yeah.
How does that
Like there's something in Tahoe called BMPs that come from the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. It's all about lake clarity.
Is that to keep Tahoe blue stuff?
Yes, kind of keep Tahoe blue, but there could be like BMP requirements, and if it's a property that might have thousands and thousands of dollars in that, it's going to have to be completed upon closing in some cases, or there's different sewer inspections. There's things that go on in these resort areas that are protecting the land, perhaps agricultural concerns, septic tanks you might not deal with in the primary market, that you're going to need somebody who has more of expertise to it. Also like, where's an avalanche zone? You could be buying this great home and be in an avalanche zone. And
something I've never ever had to ask or worry about is where's an avalanche zone.
Right.
Right.
I don't think you want to find out the hard way.
No, you certainly do not. No.
Night.
Yeah. All right. Well, Kari, thank you so much for your time.
I really
and for being
appreciate
on the
it.
show. We appreciate you giving your expertise to everyone. Thanks so much. So as Kari mentioned, we have the poker tournament coming up. Here's all the details on it. On Friday, September 20th, we have our third annual poker tournament that does benefit the Children's Village. Buffet dinner starts at 5:30. The tournament where you get to give all your money away to charity through gambling starts at 7. It's at the Fountain Grove Inn in Santa Rosa, which I've heard is a beautiful hotel. Children's Village is a great charity. We've donated to it for 2 years now. They take foster families and keep them together in a home as opposed to having them be split up, because one home can only take boys, another can only take girls. So they allow families to stay together through the foster process, which I think is a very noble effort. They actually build houses on land in Santa Rosa and allow the families to stay together. So great reason to come and network, figure out who you're going to refer business to. I think Leo's going to make a big push for that for himself here over the next few minutes. But great opportunity to network with the agents that are in the wine country and start to develop that vertical for your personal real estate business. So Leo, you and I are going to shift gears a little bit, although I'd love, maybe we can start with any feedback you have as an agent who works a second home market. Any insights around what Kari had to say. But you've been in the business for over 35 years, or for right at 35 years.
Right. Yes.
You've been selling real estate since before real estate was cool, right?
It was always interesting, but it wasn't always cool.
So as someone who works you're out of the Sonoma office?
Correct.
Yeah, so you're out of the Sonoma office. So as someone who works in that resort sort of second home area, we'll switch gears a little bit into how to keep the business thriving, but how do you resonate with what Kari said? What do you see as sort of a boots on the ground for working with people who are thinking about buying a second home?
Well, I think when you're, especially in a place like the wine country or Tahoe for that matter, you need to be deeply informed of how it all works.
Yeah.
There are unincorporated areas that we are in Sonoma Valley other than the city of Sonoma, so you need to learn and educate yourself to how it all works, what the county regulations are, what you can do, what you cannot do.
Yep.
Learn the physical attributes of the area, physically tour it yourself, know it inside out, true of any area, actually.
Yeah.
So when you're approached by clients with questions, it flows fluidly from your mind, no effort, it's just automatic. After a very long time, of course, it's second nature to me, but people are looking for information. They want to know, and they want it from a personal perspective. So if you're genuine and you love where you are and you love where you're working, like I do, I am, they can sense it, and you share it with them, and you share the intimate fun part of the wine country or Tahoe from an insider's perspective. And
there's something that attracted you to the region when you started
well,
there,
I grew up in San Francisco and had been in the trucking business with my in-laws for 15 years and decided it was time to do something more exciting. And we ended up looking at all of Sonoma County, way north, and every time we came through Sonoma Valley, it felt terrific, like home. So I said, this must be the place. So we took a deep breath, sold our property in the city, moved to Sonoma, got a real estate license at Anthony's in 1978, and
the rest is history.
Started doing what I loved in a beautiful place like Sonoma Valley, and it was easy.
That's great. So you've mentioned there's a lot of interesting. I'm trying to be a really active listener for the audience since I can be their ears. You've talked a lot about almost passion and love and attachment and letting that just sort of flow through you. Your care for and love of a particular area and letting that communicate. I think it's a really elegant, beautiful way to talk about residential real estate, regardless of what market you're in, second home or otherwise. Is that part of how you built your business, and how does that manifest itself in what you do?
I think so. One of my backgrounds is also a photographer, so I try and do an excellent job with the photography from that perspective on all the listings I'm working with to convey the beauty that we're surrounded with in our Sonoma Valley, and inviting potential clients or on their first tour, give them a real tour of the valley, tell them what goes on in the valley, what all the organizations, how this town is really involved with one another.
Yeah.
It's a small town, very friendly, whether it's the guy behind the counter at Starbucks or the biggest vineyard owner. We're all local Sonomans, and that's the fun of it all.
Right.
And we have the plaza, which is the core of our valley. And just sharing all the beauty and the nice community we have is just a natural exercise on my part, for sure. It's easy to be enthusiastic about something that's terrific.
Right.
And with a long experience there, you certainly can share it in a convincing way and a truthful way.
Yeah.
Hopefully that rubs off on them, and it usually does most of the time.
Yeah.
And
if it doesn't, forget those people.
Well, you have to keep trying, I think, for sure. And if the people you're working with enjoy your presentation of where we live, they'll tell their friends. They do always, and that's how your referrals really build up by happy customers who become friends.
It's not really selling in a second home market. Isn't that different than selling from a receiving the referral standpoint? Provide a great service.
Correct.
Make it a complex, stressful transaction a little easier and a little less stressful.
Yes.
And you will get referrals whether you're selling next door or whether you're referring to agents that are a ways away.
Exactly. So it should be an enjoyable process. For one and all.
Right. So as someone who's been in the business 35 years, we're totally off track here, but that's all right. It's my show. What are they going to do? So I'm curious what you see as one of the biggest differences in residential real estate, maybe one for the better and one for the worse over the last 35 years. I mean, that's a lot of institutional memory about this craft. And so I'm curious what's one thing that you've seen that's maybe not as great, and then one thing you've seen that you really think is kind of a cool change or variation in how the business is done now.
Well, I think that overall agents today are probably better educated in the business than 30 years ago.
Sure.
I mean, people would, when they think other things weren't going well in their life, to get a real estate license.
Right. It's where you ended up. It's not where you aspired to. Right.
Today, I think the agent's much more sophisticated, being able to deal with the sophisticated buying public.
Yep.
For sure. And they expect you to be tech savvy as an agent.
Yep.
And to educate them as much as they want, as much as you can do that for them. Educating your clients, I think, is one of the most important steps to the market.
Yes.
So when they make a decision about buying something, they're making an informed decision.
Right.
And not just taking your word. That's too big a load for an agent. Around. So,
right. So, all right, now we'll actually get to the slides and what we're supposed to talk about. Okay. Although I like we go back one, Kat. So you've been in the business for 35 years. You've been successful. You talked about the passion and the real concern and care. Here's the last bullet point is what I really want to anchor into, and you model this behavior a lot. I've had conversations with you before the radio show. I've experienced this of you, and I'm curious if this is by design, if it's natural, how you cultivate this concept that I think is really elegant and beautiful, which is present what you have to say in a clear and caring manner. The caring piece is something that I think in business can get set aside too easily. And I think you have a very elegant way that you you make that part of how you communicate with people. Is that by design? Have you always been that way?
I think it's by nature. I think it's by nature. You empathize with people. We're all human beings on this little grain of sand flying through space.
Right.
And we all have our concerns and worries and difficulties. But so I think I like to come across as truly caring that they're going to be happy because I live there.
Right.
I'm going to run into them in the plaza or wherever in restaurants, and I want them to smile when they see me coming.
Right.
And always the door is always open.
Oh, crud.
Yeah, no, that's that guy. Yeah.
Right, there's that guy again.
And they know that I am theirs forever. For any of their needs, they can always count on me. Call me with anything they need. Something with the county, having some kind of a problem, or that's something they're not clear on with the county regarding their developing their property and so forth. So you always want to be there forever for all of my clients.
There's a sense of groundedness in this business when you communicate in a fashion that says, look, whenever I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, this is what I love to do. So whenever you're ready to make a buying or selling decision, I'm going to be here. As opposed to, I sure got a mortgage I need to pay. Could you buy a house today, please?
No, that
right?
would be suicide, professional suicide.
Yeah.
I think,
desperate isn't sexy.
No, not in the least bit.
Yeah, not on Friday nights and not in real estate.
Yes. Yeah. And I think what I mentioned also earlier, in my notes at least, I like to try and have my clients feel as though they are always the ones that are at the top of my list. As far as responding to them. When they have a question or they have a request, get on it right away as quickly as possible, get right back to them. So they're feeling well served and develops an aura of trust between us all.
Yeah, number one complaint of real estate professionals by their clients or consumers is a lack of follow-up and follow-through. That's the number one complaint to the National Association of Realtors about us as an industry. We don't follow up the way we should. So you have really become the go-to real estate agent in your subdivision. You have pretty dominant market share in that area.
Yeah, so there are 170 homes. When I moved there in 78, there were about 30.
Okay.
So I did farm it extensively and got to know it and got involved totally as much as I could with our organizations in the subdivision and so forth. So I'm a very familiar face.
How did you do that? I mean,
I did it by being a neighbor more than anything. By getting to, and we're like a small family up there with 170 homes. We have 7 second-generation families that grew up there, went off to school, got jobs, and moved back. So it's a tight-knit community. It's changed. We have people retire, get older, and move off the hill, as we call it. But I am totally immersed up there on the different boards. I've been past president of the Homeowner Association twice. I'm on the Recreation Association again and again. So you're rubbing elbows with your neighbors.
So you have I'll put it in business jargon, which is probably worse than the way you're describing it, but you really become highly present, highly influential in the community just by being involved.
Absolutely.
And so that you're seeing your neighbors not only as you drive into and through the neighborhood, but also become sort of the oracle of information for, hey, we really should get this park fixed up, or we should really do blank in our community. You're one of the founding fathers of the community when it comes to having that sort of information.
Right. A resource, a resource with a familiarity with all the things they have to deal with in the country. And most common remark I get around town, if I haven't met someone before, they'll say, "Oh, you're that realtor."
That means you're doing a great job.
I said, that's a good thing.
Yeah. You can forget my name, just don't forget what I do. Yeah, that's good.
And always happy to answer any questions anyone have, visitors or clients alike, of course.
So you mentioned that the follow-up was one of the ways that you make the clients and potential clients feel like they're at the top of your list. Be responsive. Right. There are other ways that you really try to make your sort of influence in the people who might be coming up to Sonoma for the afternoon or weekend. There are other ways that you try to make them feel like they're at the top of your list.
Absolutely, because I know that they are at the beginning of their journey as far as investigating properties, and I spend the first hours together telling them about the valley, usually driving around together,
right,
and give them a little bit of the history.
The bonding ride.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And anything imaginable, and make it interesting and colorful and lighthearted.
Yeah.
At ease, put them at ease.
You're a bit of a tour guide.
You are a
to
tour
some
guide. It's
degree.
a
Yeah.
great line.
Because they're buying a lifestyle, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they see that you're enjoying it, and it's coming right out of your mind clearly and succinctly. It makes them comfortable, and so then they can relax.
Right.
It's not like, it's hard the first time you meet someone. They have to get to know you a little bit to feel the vibe,
Right.
feel comfortable, and that's my main job. I think is put them at ease. Just talk about something neutral like the valley and the beauty and what goes on in the valley, and make it interesting and all of the history, which is by road after enough time.
Sure.
So then they say, well, at least this guy
It
seems
helps
to
that
know
you were
what's
there
going on.
for a lot of the history, right?
Well, yes, definitely. It's hard to pick it up overnight, of course.
Right. But you really are, in some ways, maybe a little esoteric, but in some ways you are a physical manifestation of the lifestyle. And you're part of that lifestyle experience that they're having as their real estate professional. And this is true whether you're selling in Oakland or whether you're selling in Sonoma. People want Oakland for a reason. People want Sonoma for a reason. And as their real estate professional, it's interesting. I'm just sort of putting these puzzle pieces together as we're talking about it, but we really become sort of a manifestation of the city or locale in which they are thinking about purchasing. And the more you can tap into that reservoir of feeling, the more you're going to connect deeper with buyers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're the goodwill ambassador,
Yeah.
for the
That's a good way to put
community
it.
in which you live. And you want to reflect that you really care about the community and love it. I could go on forever about that, but it's true. It's definitely true, and it's a fun place to show people around. For sure, the wine country, they're excited. They drive in. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
There's a lot of history there, going way back, and some that they're not aware of. So the more you can paint the picture for them, the more comfortable they are, and the more enjoyable the whole process is going to be.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned your day-to-day involvement in the community as part of your success. We talked about that a little bit. Is anything else you want to add in on top of that? Or if I were an agent who was just getting started and felt like, I've seen that you've managed to dominate your community by being highly involved. What do you recommend that I do to create the same thing for myself?
I think you need to learn all you can. That's what I did my first 6 months in the business. Went up to the county and found out how the county worked,
Right.
because they're a big item, in all that takes place in the valley.
Right.
Let's see. Just another important item I think is to get to know the other agents. You're working together,
Right.
especially in a small community. You need to know them and develop a good relationship with them,
Right.
because
You
you
need to know
need
them.
each other.
And they need to like you.
Yes. Yes, and you need each other. You're going to
Yeah.
work together, and it's good to have good relationships. When we have closings, many of us give each other small gifts. The other agent on the other side of the transaction.
Yeah.
And not necessarily just from Sonoma, but it happens a lot in Sonoma. But with agents from out of the Bay Area generally coming up,
Sure.
try and show your appreciation of their efforts, not just about yourself.
Right.
And it takes two to tango and two to make a deal happen, as far as agents go. So it's good to have an ongoing good relationship with all your agents. You'll see them on the street.
Right.
You'll see them in the restaurants.
Small town. In some ways, it's got almost kind of a small town feel. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
it's that how you interact and how you spend time. And real estate is that way. Even if you're in a big city, even if you're in San Francisco, real estate as an industry, it's a small pond, and you will cross paths again. And so how you treat each other as you're moving through this business matters.
Yes, and it will benefit your clients in the long run.
Right. Your reputation has a numerical dollar value associated with it.
It does. And
It'll help win offers. I mean, there is a dollar value that's associated with your reputation as a real estate professional.
yeah, and a good relationship with the other realtors can turn into successful transactions
Right.
for you both.
Yes.
And you'll bend over backwards to help someone that has done the same for you, or shown you a kindness in your negotiations.
Right. Right. And, as we know, second place in this business doesn't earn you very much money. First place gets all of it, and second place doesn't get much.
That's right.
So, Leo, you have this really elegant is just the word that keeps coming to mind, sort of attitude about how you do the business. And and how you live your life. How do those two intersect, and how has your sort of mental positive outlook and framework, how has that influenced your ability to do successful real estate business?
Well, to me personally, it's a second nature. I think I was raised that way. I was raised in the 40s by my mother and my aunts and my grandmothers. The men were overseas. So I think I grew up in a more gentle situation with the ladies. And it gave me kind of a softer look at life, I think.
Okay.
Not to knock the man, because we're all important too.
Yeah, sure.
But it gave me a different
Got to pick
perspective
up heavy
on
stuff
life.
and, move trunks and furniture.
Well,
right? Yeah.
I think it gave me a more gentle perspective on life.
A maternal approach.
It did,
as
and kind of
opposed to a
carried
paternal
through.
approach. Yeah.
It feels better.
Yeah. Cool.
I'd rather be soft than hard
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great.
in attitude.
Yeah. And I imagine because of the stressful nature of this business, it serves you really well in residential real estate.
It has. I've been very fortunate
Yeah.
and blessed. I
Yeah.
don't take all the credit.
No. You just get all the hard work.
That's it.
That's right. So with the distance piece, and this can be a struggle even if you're working and selling in the same city, but with the distance piece with the second home market, how do you keep your clients informed of what's going on in the marketplace? What tools do you use? Do you have a system that you follow? How do you make sure, if I wanted to buy in Sonoma, which I kind of do, how would you stay in touch with me? How would you communicate with me about what's going on in the market?
Okay. Well, I would, of course, I'm always sending market updates to my base.
Yep.
And recommend and send along Gary Snedeker's blog,
Right.
which is a terrific piece. It
Second
really-
shameless plug. By the way, we'll email a link to the blog to everyone that's on the show.
Okay.
So we'll send everyone that link. You can link right to it. But keep going.
It's very informative.
Yeah, it's great.
And, from a technical base and then to just a general descriptive, painting a picture of what the market is doing, how it's changed, what direction it seems to be headed. We see, and of course now we're in a very positive mode and things are going right along.
Right.
So I do it that way. I also send all my client base, one of my own images for birthdays and the holidays, just to remind them that I'm there and thinking about them. And if there's a couple of some exciting properties coming to market, if you have anyone might like to share this treasure of Sonoma with, send them along to me. I'm happy to take care of them.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. And of course, now with this brand that we have now that I'm working with, it has a longer reach.
Sure.
So I am trying to embrace that more all the time as I get familiar with it, actually.
Yeah.
Because it's different. We didn't have such a reach before.
Sure.
It was really pretty much each agent doing his own thing. And we are one-person companies.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Every one of us.
There's an amount of truth to that for sure. Yes.
But we're now a part of a big team as well, so it's a good thing.
How do you find the best of both in that?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
definitely the best of both.
So what should you do? Because imagine you get a lot of questions that you don't know the answer to. So what should you do when you don't have the answers for your client? How do you handle that when, maybe you just get the curveball? I've always told newer licensees this. The learning curve in residential real estate is pretty steep. There's a lot you have to learn. The good news is it's pretty short. After 12, 13 transactions, you'll have seen 85% of what you're going to see most of the time. And then it doesn't matter if you do it for 35 years, there's still weird curveballs that are going to come your way, and that's what keeps it interesting and keeps it fresh, right?
Yes.
And so when you get the question you don't know how to answer, or when a client says something that's totally just way outside the box, and you're like, I think that's legal, I'm not sure. What's the answer? How do you answer those kinds of
I
questions?
usually would respond by saying, I'm going to double check on that because I want to be absolutely accurate and give you the correct answer.
Good.
Generally speaking, I'll describe what my understanding is of the general subject, but I want to double check, make sure I'm accurate, and I'll get that right back to them, which I will.
Yeah.
And not fake it.
Right. Right. They don't care if you have all the answers. They just care that you know where to go to get them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's part of your main tool of your profession, to know where to go, how to get the answers, how to get the information.
Yeah.
And get it quickly. And even with the county level, you're dealing with the people of the county in our area because it's mostly unincorporated. You get to know the people at the county. So
Right.
all of a sudden doors open for you that perhaps might not for a brand new agent. So it's good for newer agents to get up to the county in charge of their area.
Get involved.
Learn how it works and
Yeah.
where you go and where you can send your clients to get the important answers.
Mm-hmm. How this last Keith off topic question, and then we'll have you give your tips. But how much do you love the Sonoma Valley?
Well, I found out long ago I did not have to die to live in heaven.
The reason that I asked that question is when you talk about it, your physicality. I mean, you have a very great demeanor anyway, but you have this sort of syrupy, amazing adoration for the place in which you live, and it resonates in what you do. And my intuition is that's part of the reason you're really successful.
I think so. It was a gift that allowed me to live there and be there, and I'm trying to give back some of that gift, pass it on and share it with my clients.
And I think sometimes in this business, we get so caught up in the transaction. We get so caught up in the negotiation. And we get so caught up in the where's my next buyer going to come from that we forget to really fall in love again with the places that we're selling. And whether doesn't matter if you're in a second home market or if you're selling in Pleasanton. There's a reason you chose wherever you are to live. And the more you can tap into that love that you have for this place that you're selling, that you're communicating and educating people about, I think there's a correlation to that and success in this business. And you are, to me, a really great example of that. So
thank you.
It's fun to observe.
It's a wonderful career. I've loved it. I still love it. That's why I'm still doing it.
Right.
I will do it till I can't do it anymore, whenever that is.
Right. No time soon, I'm sure.
No,
time
but
soon,
I do it because I do love it.
Yeah.
Really. And it's rewarding, but of course,
Yes.
it is very rewarding.
Yeah.
But it's a great thing. It's a great way to learn it, to know people, to experience life. It's a journey we're on, and it's a rich journey if you allow it to be.
Yeah.
And
That's
always,
great.
And be gentle on yourself. That's another, maybe
great.
one of my strongest feelings. Be gentle on yourself. Not forgive yourself anything, but be gentle on yourself. Don't beat yourself up.
Right.
Take deep breath. Be calm. Look at this, because life is brief.
Yes.
So
be gentle
try and
on
make
yourself.
it a gentle journey for
That's
yourself.
great. Oh, that's really good. I need a little bit of that probably in my life.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to, when you're on the treadmill, to be calm.
Right. When it's on 10 and right. How
Yeah,
do you,
and
how do
8
you-
is your top speed.
Right. It gets a little clumsy. Yeah. So you've given us some tips, and I think you've just communicated this first one, but we'll just reinforce it. Enjoy the journey. Life is brief, and real estate is a fascinating and rewarding adventure. Enjoy the ride, right?
Exactly. And also treat it like a normal, real job.
Yeah.
Get up in the morning, go to work.
Right.
I've done every day that I'm not working, which is I'm working at least 5 days a week.
Uh-huh.
Up in the morning, go to the office first, get in that mode, that mood, and then start doing it and doing what you love and until it's time to go home.
Right. Right. But it is work.
It is work, and
Yeah.
you got to treat it like a job. Get up and go to work.
Yeah.
Don't sit around waiting for something to happen.
Right. Because you won't be successful if
and
that's your approach.
Right. And it's a professional environment at the office, and it's easier to work.
Yeah.
It's
True.
sitting at home looking at the birds flying in and out of the oaks and the deer walking by my house.
Right.
It's lovely, but I can get more done really at the office.
Next thing you know, you've watched 4 sports centers in a row or whatever.
Or something.
Yeah,
4 hours
right.
just went by.
Exactly. Stay informed and up to date. I think you've really done that through getting plugged in, haven't you? You just participating in the community in a lot of different ways.
Very much. And I'm not the only one. In a small community, there are many, many people who are doing the same thing. And you're sharing that. And to share that, it's a real positive energy. It's a feel good for everybody. I'm just one person in the crowd, but we're all kind of working. They're very involved, the general population of Sonoma Valley, in many things.
Yeah.
Helping each other and being grateful.
Right. And then the last bullet point you had for us is be gracious and grateful. Let your clients know that they can call on you for any need beyond the transaction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I tell them that as long as I'm here and live and well and doing real estate, you call me anytime for anything, and I'll try and help you in any way I can. Absolutely.
Yeah. Be a complete resource for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. You'll know
for sure.
you're ingrained in their life when they're calling you about, I don't know, their going out on a special evening and they want to know what's their best restaurant that has a private room. Right?
From that to who to contact when their septic system backs up.
Correct.
So it's
Yeah.
the whole spectrum of
spectrum.
life. Yeah.
And I think your language for it was, it wasn't grace. Be gentle on yourself.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
another bullet point that I would add.
And for anyone in life, we have to be our own best friend to an extent.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, take care of yourself.
So you can do a good job for other people or help them.
Right.
But you got to make sure you're okay.
Exactly. Right. That's really good. Leo, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your gentle and elegant way that you do this business. I think it's something that, as someone who can be a little type A personally and a little bit intense personally, it's a good reminder. My biggest personal and professional influence in my life is my mom. So I have this odd sort of Gemini. I'm not a Gemini, but I've got this odd Gemini thing going on where I've got this real intensity and then I've got this maternal way that I was sort of brought up personally and professionally. And today has, for me, been really helpful, this conversation that we've had with just a few million people on a radio show because of the insight and to remind us that we need to be gentle with ourselves. And the more we can take care of ourselves, the better we can take care of other people. Sometimes we martyr ourselves in this business, and we do it under the flag of service. And there's a way to take care of yourself, and I think you've articulated that really well today. So I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here and chatting with you.
Yeah, great. And Kari, thank you for your insights around how to create a second vertical for us inside of our business. I think it's a great way to look at how to take this database we have and monetize it in some other interesting ways. So thank you very much. And thank you all for listening, and stay tuned next week. We'll have another great show for you guys. Thanks, everyone. Thanks so much, and have a great week.